I recently started watching some of Kobe Bryant's podcast he was featured on YouTube, through Jay Shetty or Lewis House, and kind of want to share what I learned from his mindset and his mentality. So, for those who don't know, success leaves clues, right? So, you can study someone successful in any field, whether it's sports, business, celebrities, whatever success anyone's obtained, there's always principles and clues left behind that translate very well. This is why a lot of athletes who are, in the NBA and the NFL, it translates very well over to entrepreneurship and business, and they can build massive amount of wealth, right? So it does translate. I never understood why. Like, how could a athlete do well in business, but they do, learn a lot. You're more likely to win the lottery than make the NBA. So if you're like a superstar NBA player like Stephen Curry, then obviously if you can dominate the NBA, you can dominate anything else you want to do, whether it's a business, whether it's a startup. That's why there's a lot of really successful athletes who build their wealth after their career. So, kind of what I learned from Kobe Bryant is the consistency of work. So, what Kobe Bryant was very good at was he would wake up early. He'd be the first person in the gym to get his first workout session in. And then after lunch, around 3 p.m., he'd get a second workout in. So, if you look at just the numbers, so if you work out and exercise twice a day versus somebody who works out once a day, over the span of a year, that's 365 more workouts that you've had compared to your competition. If you compound that over 10 years, that's 3,650 extra workouts that you've had compared to your competition. Who do you think will be better over that 10-year span? Of course, the person who had an additional 3,650 workouts. So, quantity and consistency over a long period of time matters, right? Regardless of what you're doing, right? If you want to buy real estate, like what I'm doing, you have to consistently do it over a long period of time and devote more time and energy than most people. If most people only devote, you know, 3 hours a week towards real estate and you do 3 hours a day, that's where your advantage becomes, right? They do 3 hours a week, you do 3 hours a day times 70, that's 21 hours a week. And in a month, that's 40 hours, or sorry, 80, 20 times four. So that's how people get ahead, right? Like it seems small, seems minuscule, but these things compound over a period of time. So it's 80 hours, um, a month. You times that by 12, that's 800 hours almost, or above 800 hours. So that's where the compounding happens. Like people realize that it seems so insignificant. Like instead of me watching Netflix, I was putting time, energy, effort into learning about real estate, into learning and bettering myself, just educating myself. And you do that over a couple of years, that's when the compounding happens and that's when the separation happens. That's why people look at you like, you might have met people back from high school and they'd be like, oh my God, you changed so much. We came from the same place, but what they don't realize is if you spent, 3 hours a day for the past 10 to 12 years improving yourself, that's when the compounding gets significant, and that's when you start to separate yourself. So, very eye opening that Kobe, who is known for his hard work, he's known for the Mamba mentality. Like he put in more work and volume than anyone else, and you can see that today. Like Stephen Curry, he takes a lot of 3 point shots. That's why he's one of the greatest 3 point shooters ever, because he just put in the quantity and put in the effort. Despite already being good at the 3 point shot, he put in a lot of work. So it's consistency, it's quantity, it's a numbers game. Like it's just math. Like if you really break it down, like it's just math. Like, are you willing to put in more hours than most people? And not just say it, but actually do it, right? Like, are you willing to put out more content? Are you willing to, put in more effort, energy to learn about real estate? Are you willing to put in that time to analyze deals, to make offers, to learn from others? So it's really putting in the quantity, putting in the work, and there's nothing around it. But the silver lining is that you don't have to be talented, right? Like I was beginning at real estate, 8 years ago, and I'm still learning today, right? I'm gonna make mistakes and learn and get better. But if I've been doing it for like 40, 50 years, then there's an increased chance that I'm probably gonna be better at it than most people if I put in the work, consistency, and quantity. So that's kind of the silver line I take from it. But not many people are willing to put in the quantity and the work. They give up after like a month. But if you can keep on going for like a year, 5 years, 10 years, there's no way you wouldn't be successful. So that's kind of one thing that the first concept I learned from Kobe, and the second concept I learned from Kobe Bryant is um, being coachable, right? So if you think about it, like literally the top athletes in the world who are at the top of their craft, the top entrepreneurs who are at the best of their craft, they're the ones who are the most open to coaching and outside opinion, right? So versus people, and I see this a lot when you work in a W two, you've always worked in an environment, and I've experienced it where the director at top or the top position or person, they have so much of an ego that they don't like ever admitting that they're wrong. They never like to get other people's opinions. They think they're the smartest person in the room and know their opinion matters. And if you give an opinion, you're challenging their opinion and it makes them offended. I see this all the time in the W 2 world. That's my one gripe about the W 2 world. I was like, they think they know the most. They think they're the smartest person in the room. But to me, I think those type of people know the least. And they have too much of an ego and it's holding them back from being successful, right? Like their identity is being the smartest person in the room. Their identity is always being right. Their identity is never being wrong. But as I've achieved more and more success, I realize that I know too little. The more I've achieved, the more my network has increased, the more I realize that I don't know much, right? The more I realize that I need more coaching. The more I realize that there's people out there who are smarter than me, the more I realize that I can expect my own learning curve from learning from others. So, to me, I think it's a little bit, you know, doing a disservice to yourself if you're not open to coaching, if you're not open to other people's opinion, if you're not open to learning from people smarter than you, if you're not willing to put down your pride, put down your ego, and realize that, hey, you know what? I may be a smart person, but I can always learn. I don't always have to be right. I can make mistakes. So, I think that's another downfall that a lot of people have. And I experience it, right? I'm a pharmacist, I have a doctorate degree, and it takes pretty good grades to become a pharmacist or complete doctorate degree, so you have a certain level of pride. But like I said, the more successful I've been in my pharmacy career, in my real estate career, and now trying to build my social media career, the more I'm realizing I don't know, and I have to learn from other people and leverage from mistakes and just be willing and open to outside comments and opinion, and at least trying it, right? So um, rule number two I learned from Kobe is, basically be coachable. Rule number three that I learned from Kobe is to always fine tune and find ways to slowly improve. So what Kobe emphasized was he was very obsessed with analyzing film. If he watched a game that he won, he would analyze his mistakes and what he could have done better. If he lost the game, he would still analyze the game and look at what he can do better. And he would spend a lot of time analyzing all film. Like he would watch all the games that he just played and study how he can slowly improve and tweak it, and know how to defend certain players better, know how to play offense against certain players, identify strengths and weaknesses of yourself as well as other players. So for me, I've always taken that approach too, where like I'm a voracious learner. I always listen to podcasts. I commute 2.5 hours a day, and most of the time I'm listening to podcasts to learn. So I probably listen to about 13 hours of podcasts a week at least on the weekdays. So I'm always willing to learn. It does get repetitious, but sometimes you get certain nuggets at different points of your life that it finally hits you and it makes sense. Like sometimes your brain is not ready to receive information. So you have to constantly be learning and constantly surrounding yourself. So that's what I realized too is the people who are at the highest level, they're always finding room to improve, always tweaking to improve. But the people who think they're already the best and don't want to improve anymore, those people, once again, just have a strong ego, too much pride, and they're holding themselves back from their own success. Because if you think that you know everything and you're not willing to improve, then that means that you're giving opportunity for others to catch up and for others to take advantage. So that's what I learned myself and experienced, that the moment you start learning is the moment you start growing. It's the moment you kind of die in a sense, right? Like I know a lot of people, they graduated pharmacy school and they haven't grown since. they've been the same exact person as they was at 23 versus 33. No growth, no improvement whatsoever, right? Versus me from 23 to 33, I was continuously growing. I still feel like I need to grow. I have a lot of growth I still need to do. And, I never once thought that I was the smartest person in the room. I'm always willing to listen to anybody, regardless of your title, regardless of your rank, regardless of what that is. I'm willing to listen, willing to learn, and better myself. So, kind of rule number 3 of Kobe was um, basically always be willing to improve, right? Always be willing to improve and find a one advantage that you can improve at. And kind of the last point that I kind of learned from Kobe is, he's very famous for his Mamba mentality, right? So it's kind of the mentality of never giving up, the mentality of always giving it 100%, 100% of the time, right? Like if you are practicing basketball, give it 100%. If you're hanging with your family, give it 100%. If you are relaxing, give it 100%, right? So, and I'm guilty of this too, where I would give 100% to my job, I give 100% to my business, but I want to give 100% if I'm relaxing. I want to give 100% to my health. I want to give 100% to, friends and family. So you always have to give 100%, 100% of the time. And it's easy to say, it's hard to do, right? Like, no one can really do it, but you can strive towards improvement. And also, what's nice about kind of the Mamba mentality is just having that relentless pursuit where you have that goal, you're willing to put in the work, you're willing to put in the quantity, you're willing to put in the hours, you're willing to put in the consistency, and you're never giving up. And you do that for over your whole life, like that's your and you'll kind of live a life that you don't regret, right? You did everything you possibly could, wherever that end result may be, doesn't matter. You gave it your all. You have no regrets, and that's all you can do. So, unfortunately, Kobe's life was cut short, through that tragic accident. But, I would have loved to see what he could have accomplished, because he definitely has the mindset. He dominated the NBA and, won an Oscar. And, I'm sure he would have, whatever he put his mind to, he would have been successful at. So, that's just kind of the mentality that I'm trying to take in whatever I do, right? Like, when you start to embark on entrepreneurship, there's a lot of bumps in the road. Things never go as planned. But as long as you can persevere and push through and be persistent, never give up, put in the work, constantly improve yourself, there's no way that you won't have as much success as you ever dreamed of, and watch it compound over time, right? And I've definitely experienced it as well. But it's really the journey and not really the end destination. So, overall, hopefully you found value from what I learned from Kobe Bryant. I was watching a couple of podcasts recently and kind of wanted to share the key nuggets I've taken away from, his podcast. Hope to see you next video. Thank you so much.